What is going on? Holy shit. Almost feel bad even streaming right now. We just had a banger bees match between Stone Canadian and Sloaner. Best of 3. First match just went 26 holes. That is insane. Insane. Absolutely insane. Wow. Hopefully my speakers ain't too loud. Test something here. All right. 26 holes. That's nuts. That is nuts. Glad I caught the end of that. Might have to go for some live look-ins here while we're talking a little draft here. But just had first redraft fantasy football in USN's OG league. Just thought we'd hop online and discuss that a little bit. Let's get on a different screen here. All right, let's try this again here. That's going to load it. All right. See how that works. All right, let's... All right, let's see if we can make this a little bit bigger. Might work out there. All right, we kind of see what's going on a little bit. So, first draft tonight. Already had a dynasty draft. That's a little bit different, though. First redraft. The USN, the boys. I had pick 4. It was interesting. I knew I'd get... There's no way Taylor McCaffrey would drop to me. So I knew I was going with a wide receiver. Eckler going 3. A little bit of a surprise. So when it came to me, had to go either Cup or Jefferson. The problem I had with Cup was he had a career year last year. I mean, by far. Is he going to do that again? Probably not. Jefferson's last couple of years have been getting better and better. I think just the target volume alone with Cup over Jefferson kind of got it for me. It'll be interesting, that's for sure. So I decided to go Cup. No surprise after that. We had Jefferson, Chase. And here's where it got a little bit interesting. You know, it comes to the tiers. You know, Henry's going to get a workload, but he's getting older. He's getting banged up. Guy's got a ton of carries last few years before finally getting injured last year. I mean, I was somewhat shocked that Cook fell to 6. I thought maybe he'd go in front of Mixon. But I mean, still a good pick all around. I mean, just going by the average draft position, I mean, it would seem maybe Mixon went a touch high, potentially. But, you know, on the other side of that, the top 3 receivers gone. Henry gone. So, I mean, you got basically a second tier of either Harris, Cook, Mixon, Kamara, Fournette. Not a big fan of Fournette. I kind of showed here with Mixon going 5th, running back, Cook 6th, Najee 7th. Swift kind of snuck up there, going over Fournette, over Kamara. And Debo finishing out the first round. But starting off in my position to 4, and with wide receivers both dropping, I kind of knew right away I was going to go receiver. I mean, not to plan it out like that, but, you know, Kamara ended up going, Kelsey ended up going second round, Fournette, Barkley. So, I mean, for me, that was top 2 tiers of running backs gone. I think Barkley will have a good year. I mean, that was a good pick there. But running backs just kept going. I mean, it would have been absolute wild if either Diggs or Adams would have fell to me at 21. But at that point, for who was there, the other time, what's going on, man? I guess the one pick that somewhat surprised me going a little bit higher was Akers. But coming back to me, you know, it was a big big tier of running backs, again, that were gone. So I had CeeDee Lamb in my second tier receivers, and I had to go with them. I mean, the volume with Cooper gone, I mean, he's going to see a lot of balls. Let's face it. Rab Sims, what's going on? Welcome on in. Wasn't really a big fan of Tyreek Hill. I just want to throw it out there that Shiloh, drafting here, was a auto pick. So he ended up getting stuck with Hill, but I mean, Hill was in my third tier, but had to go CeeDee Lamb. Aaron Jones, great pick there. I mean, he must have been, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Jones was a 15th running back taken. He could have easily been bottom of like tier 2, top of tier 3. Actually want Delvin in the first. Yeah, and I'll go back up there for a sec here. And I mean, Henry's going to get volume. I mean, me personally, I'm not a huge fan of Henry because he's just had too much volume over the past 3-4 years. He ended up getting hurt last year. I mean, you can never predict injuries, but I mean, he's going to wear down at some point. I mean, if that were me picking in your spot there, Rab Sims, this isn't a homer pick. I probably would have went Cook there. Just because alone he'll get the other negative about Henry is he doesn't get squat for catches out of the backfield. Whereas Cook will see a ton. Going second round there, coming out of the first 2 rounds with Cooper Kupp and CeeDee Lamb. I mean, the way I got my tiers, I got 2 of the top, say 6 or 7 receivers right there. So I mean, I have a leg up on a lot of people right there. Not sure what happened, but yeah, and it's as long as Henry can stay healthy. I mean, you could say that with anyone, but just going off of how many carries he's had in the last, probably 4 years. I mean, it's just natural that he's going to get a little bit of a decline, which Tennessee probably should. I mean, they can't overwork the guy this year. I mean, there's no way. Now, can you see this screen fine? Did I blow it up enough? That's too much there. I'll leave it at this here. 150 is too much. You can see it fine. All right, perfect. All right, so coming out of the second round, I was feeling pretty good with what was going on. I mean, if you go by, I mean, this is just ESPN ranks here, but I mean, like the average draft position for CeeDee Lamb is 15, and I'm getting him at 21. So I was feeling good coming out of that. I was feeling really good. The second round finished it up. So third round, I'm just kind of waiting to see, what's going to happen at this point. Me seeing Keenan Allen going before my 4th pick in the 3rd round. I mean, I was fine with that. I was somewhat eyeing up Mark Andrews if he would have fell to me, but the frickin' auto picks. Damn it. Auto picks, he was the highest ranked guy, as you can see here, 19 on ESPN. So he ended up going to Shiloh. Pittman going before me. I mean, that was totally fine too. I didn't really want to start three wide receivers, but I mean, I could have maybe went Higgins here, but I don't feel bad about getting Pitts where I did. I mean, on one of my sheets, his average draft position is about 34 or so, between 30 34. So, I mean, maybe a touch high, but I wanted to make sure to get an elite tight end to go along with my 2 top 6 or 7 receivers. I gotta love the auto pick, no doubt, right? That pisses me off every time. Every time. I would have liked to have Andrews where I was at, but I'll take Pitts. I mean, he's shown in preseason already that they're going to be throwing to him. And they're going to be lining him up to where a lot of linebackers are going to have to cover him, and linebackers are not going to be able to cover that guy at all. Let me start off with a little bit of a QB run here with Allen, Herbert. Kittle ended up going after Pitts. Which, I'm fine with there. I mean, maybe... Let's see, where's Kittle? I know it's showing Kittle being about a average 50. I mean, he probably could have fell another round, maybe. Not really a huge fan of Evans. I mean, that's why I didn't really want to go with 3 straight receivers, although we have the flex position. But me taking the tight end there was, I had to do it. You might notice I have 0 running backs now through the first 3 rounds, which automatically means that I'm going to be stuck in the either zero running back strategy, or I'm not really stuck in the true 0 running back strategy here, but I mean, just the 0 running back strategy. I mean, I could still get a guy like, let's say, in the 4th round. Let's see, the end of the round, Connor went. So almost all of at least all of my running backs who I had in tier 3 were gone in this round, except, let's see, Elliott. Yeah, he was the only one. But I was not taking Elliott up here. There's no way. Ghostbuster, what's going on, man? Welcome on in. Just doing a little analyzing the draft here. Explaining to people where I was at in my picks. So me coming out of 3rd round with Pitts, I like that a lot. I mean, maybe a couple potential reaches in this round. I mean, I might say a Kittle a little bit. Because, I mean, the top 3 are Andrews, Kelsey, and Pitts. And after that, I mean, you got a little bit of a drop-off when it comes to the tight end. I mean, Waller, Kittle. I mean, those are probably the next best 2. Quarterbacks are starting to go in here. See Josh Allen going towards the end of the 3rd, Herbert. I'm never a fan drafting a QB that early. Never. You always want to build fantasy depth before picking a quarterback, at least in my opinion. Just because the drop off from the top couple guys when it comes to Allen, Mahomes, Herbert, Jackson, and the tier 2, I mean, it's not that huge. It's really not. Yeah, I'm never a fan. I never do it. I mean, and it depends upon the situation too. I mean, it really does. I mean, if my top 4 tier receivers are all gone, I mean, maybe. I mean, you still want to grab a top guy from somewhere, but I mean, the way this shelled out, it wouldn't have been me picking a quarterback in round 3. That's for sure. I mean, going off of that, we got Allen that went, Herbert that went. Connor going at the end of the 3rd round. I mean, that's pretty good value there, I think. I mean, average draft position for him is about 30. So I mean, getting him 6 picks later, I mean that's good value. Connor sees a lot of catches out of the backfield. He scored a lot of TDs last year. And what pisses me off is my dynasty league, I ended up dropping him going into last year. I think because the contract was too high for him, but then we're coming back 4th round. Here's another maybe a little bit of a reach, Prescott, in my opinion. I mean, for me, I got him as a tier 3 quarterback. I mean, guys going ahead of him. I mean, Mahomes wasn't off the board yet, even though Mahomes, I mean, it's somewhat questionable, his receivers for this year, but I mean, the guy's just dynamic. I mean, let's face it. I mean, Mahomes will get his. So, I mean, my thought process going into 3rd round, or 4th round, I should say, was I really wanted Jacksonville's running back here. I wanted him to fall. If he would have fell to me, I would have snagged him up. I mean, I have 0 problems with Montgomery going ahead of my pick. We had Waller that went this round. DJ Moore, I think, is going to have a pretty good year. I mean, that's good value for Kilbride there, in my opinion. I think Moore dropped. I mean, I would have picked DJ Moore over McLaurin. Probably not AJ Brown. I mean, Moore's average draft positions around like 33. So I mean, for him to drop to 40, I mean that's good value there in my opinion. And any quarterback over Sam Darnold is, even though it's Mayfield. I mean, Mayfield's fine; he'll be fine, Carolina. But I really wanted this guy to drop to me in 4. If he would have, I would have snagged him there. But after he went, then I was looking at Moore and Mike Williams. And unfortunately, both those guys got snagged. Even Sutton, I don't think I would have drafted Sutton over Waddle. But I think me getting Waddle here, I mean, him and Tua, they connected quite a bit last year. I mean, Waddle had a hell of a rookie year. I mean, even though Hill is there, I don't think that's going to affect Waddle. Waddle's going to see a lot of volume. I mean, he's probably only going to average, 12 to 14 yards per catch, which isn't a lot. But yeah, and Sutton going there, I mean, that's I don't know if, I mean, me personally, I mean, I would have went Williams over Sutton there. Just because Williams keeps getting better and better. I mean, even though they got Keenan Allen, but Keenan Allen's just a kind of a dink and dunk guy. I mean, Williams is their home run hitter. And for the last couple of years, I mean, he's been getting better and better. I mean, so I still like the Sutton pick, but I mean, if that were me personally, I mean, I would have went Williams over Sutton there. But Waddle falling to me, I mean, I was perfectly happy with that. I mean, I wasn't going to pick Judy Johnson over Waddle. I mean, I got Waddle. Let's see, he's kind of the top end of my, or bottom tier 3, I'd say. Russ is going to pay dividend. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, he's going to have a big year because of Wilson going there. That's for sure. I mean, Denver's offense is going to be everything's going to be a pick me up with Wilson there. I mean, that opens up everything. I mean, that's going to open up things for Sutton, Judy, even Javonte Williams. You know, I mean, there's a lot of elite players that people are going to have to keep their eyes on. So, what else do we have going on in the 4th round here? And Mahomes, saw him go. So what was that? We got Allen, then Herbert, Prescott. So Mahomes was the 4th quarterback taken. Finished off round 4, Judy. I think he'll have a decent year. I mean, personally, I kind of had him down in kind of like the top end of tier 5. But, I mean, his average draft position, let's see, Judy is 58. So, I mean, maybe that could have waited a little bit. But, I mean, sometimes you got to reach for guys, too, you know, because of those. Whenever you're staring at a computer screen doing a fantasy football draft, I mean, you're looking at all these rankings that everyone else is looking at. I mean, they're seeing those top guys, and, you know, the intuition there is for people to look at the top guys that are left on the rankings and, you know, pick one of those in the top 5. You know, I mean, that's just the way it works, because they know if they don't get, you know, those top guys sitting left on the rankings, that they're not gonna fall to them later on. I mean, I try not to fall into that, but you also have to keep an eye on that, because if there's sleepers that you want to get, you know, if that guy is, you know, only if he's 8th down on the list and you don't have a pick for, you know, the next 15 picks, I mean, you almost have to reach sometimes to get that guy, whoever it might be. So me coming out of the 4th round with Waddle, I mean, I think that's, let's see, 15, 16. I mean, in my opinion, right now I have 3 of the top 18, 20 receivers. So Waddle's showing in my flex here, just because they fill out the flex position first. Whenever you fill up your first 2 starters. So, I mean, I'm looking at going wide receiver in my flex most of the year, I would think, which I'm fine with. Because to me this year, there's such a big gap between, you know, the top probably 30 receivers in comparing to, let's say, the top, you know, only 15 running backs or so. But, I mean, that maybe gets you thinking, well, shit, you know, if there's, you know, one big tier of top 15 running backs and then there's a drop-off, well, you know, wouldn't you want better running backs? Well, yes and no. But, I mean, that kind of put me into the 0 running back strategy, where I'm going to take all the top guys I can. And I took a top tight end and ended up getting another, hopefully a top 20 wide receiver here. So through 4 rounds, I have 3 wide receivers who I think are going to be in the top, let's say 18, 20. And at this point, there's 12 teams who still need to pick. They're starting two wide receivers, and they don't have that. So I mean that puts me a big leg up, I think, on competition right there. But looking at the end of the fourth round, I mean Mahomes, I mean I'm fine with that. Deontay Johnson, he's gonna kind of maybe dropped a little bit, but I had him in my next tier down. But going to the top of the fifth, we had Lamar Jackson going, which isn't really a surprise there. So that was the top 5 quarterbacks gone. And at this point, the 2 guys left quarterback-wise that I would consider, closer to elite status would be Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts. And when it came to me in the 4th pick in the 5th, I was not going to pull the trigger on a QB there, because I would have been choosing from either, Murray or Hurts at that point. And to me, that's just too high of a pick there. So I was looking at the wide receivers again, and Cooks, I think, Cooks was an auto pick here, but I think Cooks is going to have a good year. I mean, him and Mills have built up quite the partnership in my mind. I think even though Cooks is getting a little older, I think he's going to have a good year. That was an auto pick for Shiloh, by the way. I mean, they have Cooks. I mean, his average draft position is about 45 or so. So, I mean, he's getting a little bit of a value here. So when it was dropping to me, I'm thinking, okay, I'm probably going to have to go running back here. And Jacobs going right in front of me, I was perfectly fine with. And we'll get into that later on. So when it came to me, at that point, I'm looking at, let's see, was Zeke picked yet? Oh, yeah, Zeke was already picked. So I was looking at Dobbins, Breece Hall. Etienne was already picked. Because in my tier, Montgomery was there too. Where did he go? I miss him already. Oh, Montgomery already went too. So in this spot, I was looking at either Breece Hall or J.K. Dobbins. Can't say I'm a fan of Dobbins. I mean, he's starting off the year somewhat hurt. I do have him in my Dynasty League, but I was kind of forced into keeping him because of the specific contract that I had. I couldn't drop him. I had to sign him. So, I mean, I think he'll have a decent year, but, I mean, Dobbins is going to lose a lot to Lamar Jackson. Gus Edwards is still hurt. So, I mean, he's obviously their number one guy. But I felt that Breece Hall, I mean, he's got a lot of hype coming in as a rookie. I mean, his average draft position is going around between like 32, 36, something like that. So for him to fall to me at 52, I didn't mind that one bit. So I pulled the trigger on him right away. Then after that, we saw a couple other quarterbacks go. Murray, Burrell. Again, maybe a couple of these guys maybe went, in my opinion, a tad early. I mean, Murray here, I mean, I'm fine with. I mean, that's round 5. Burrell, yeah. I think his average draft position is a lot lower than that. Let's see. Murray's around 60. And Burrell, yeah, is around like 70, 75. So, I mean, I don't know, maybe around too early there. But, I mean, if someone wants their starting quarterback, I mean, if you like Burrow over, Allen Robinson, Marquis Brown, Dobbins, I mean, yeah, sometimes you got to pull the trigger. I like this Allen Robinson pick here. I think he's going to be a perfect complement to Cooper Kupp, and even though he's a wide receiver too, I mean he's going to see a lot of volume. I mean that's going to be a hell of a duo. I mean that Robinson was kind of the reason why I was nervous picking Kupp fourth, but at the same time, Kupp is such a strong wide receiver that I didn't have a problem with that. I mean, is Robinson going to take a little away? Probably. But I mean, like I said, there's no way Kupp is going to have the season he had last year. So, I mean, that there was a good pick. Marquis Brown, new team. I mean, he's going to be the number one guy for 6 weeks. Me personally, I'm not a fan of Hopkins, even when he does come back. But I think that Kyler Murray to Marquise Brown, I mean, at least the first 6 weeks, and who knows, it's probably going to last longer than that. I got Marquise Brown in my Dynasty League as well. I like him. I do. Was I going to pick him over Breece Hall here? No. So I, at this point, needed to get at least one running back in my top 3 tiers, which I got Hall. He's kind of at the bottom of my 3rd tier. I mean, there was no one. Looking at, I picked Hall over Dobbins again. Kind of went over that. But, I mean, I could have been fine with both, but, Hall dropping. I mean, Dobbins is all over the board. I mean, on some, he's average draft positions like 45 on some, 60 on another. So, I mean, him going there is, a decent value pick. Now, this guy here is going to be interesting. Amon St. Brown. He had, I think, the last half of last season, if I remember right, he was a top 5 fantasy receiver. And that was with Jared Goff throwing him the ball. I mean, I see him having a pretty decent year. I like him picked there. His average draft position, let's see, it's probably around there anyway. Maybe a little bit lower, maybe 65, 70, depending upon what you go off of. But I don't know how many receivers Flip had there. But if he's his number 2 receiver, let's take a look here. Flip. So he has Diggs as his number 1. So, I mean, that's a good number 2 receiver right there for Flip. Elijah Mitchell. I mean, I was somewhat looking at him. He was a bit lower. He was in my tier 4, so I wasn't going to pick him over Hall, but he was another option. Metcalf. No one knows what we're going to get out of him this year. I mean, with our quarterback situation, he's very inconsistent. I mean, he's going to have his boom weeks, but if I remember right, he had like 8 weeks last season, 8 or 9 weeks where he was under like 10 total points. I mean, you just got to be careful with the boom or bust guys like that. Let's see here. And then going into the 6th. Going into the 6th round, I was considering quarterback, but it just kind of all depended upon how things laid out here. Um, if Hurts here, who USN took, if he would have fell to me at 69, I would have thought about it there. I mean, there's a few of these guys. You know, if Mooney would have dropped, I would have snagged him. Even at that would have been my fourth receiver. You know, again, depth is huge. This is my regret pick. Wish I would have waited longer. Oh, Brady. Yeah, I mean, Brady there. I don't know. Let's see where he is at here. Sixth. I mean, Brady, you know, average draft position is usually around 80 to 85. So, I mean, maybe around early. But at this point, there was what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 quarterbacks taken. So Brady was the 9th quarterback taken there, which, you know, is fine. I mean, I might have been thinking about if you wouldn't have taken him 66, I might have thought of him there. I mean, I was trying to target Hurts because there's a couple things that, you know, or give some of these positional players more of a elite status here that I'll go over pretty quick here. So for running backs, I mean, obviously you want to look at if they get receptions out of the backfield. I mean, and that's a plus. You know, that's why, you know, going back to the first round, there's no way I would have picked, you know, Derrick Henry over Kupp, for example. He may get a lot of touchdowns, yards on the ground, but that's what he's dependent on. He's dependent on that volume on the ground. He doesn't see it out of the backfield. But for running backs, I mean, you're looking at how many receptions they're getting. If they have a clear red zone role, which Henry has, and no timeshare. I mean, if guy's number one back out of the backfield, I mean, you're taking him over a guy splitting time. Although there's somewhat of a exception to that when it comes to Green Bay and Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, because they complement each other real well. Just felt it so early, but you're right, QBs are going early. Yeah, and you know what? And you taking Brady there, and after Hurts went, that gave me the thumbs up to wait on a quarterback for probably about another 3-4 rounds. Knowing that Brady was the 9th quarterback I think taken there. I mean, after that we still got, you know, Russell Wilson still out there. Rodgers is still out there. Stafford, you know, Trey Lance. I was definitely going to wait here. So here, you know, Devin Singletary going in front of me, I was completely fine with that. But Edwards-Helaire, I did have him on one of my teams last year, and he just kind of stunk it up. Not going to lie. Now, why would I pick him here? Well, going back to the average draft positions, he might be a little bit lower. He's between like 60, 65 or so. So I mean, I'm getting a little bit of value drafting him at 69. At this point, there was, probably a good 20, at least probably 24, 25 running backs off the board. Not that I felt the need to draft a running back here. I mean, because behind him here we had Miles Sanders that went, you know, A.J. Dillon, you know, and that's kind of what I was looking at. I'm like, well, if I don't draft Edwards-Helaire here, then the next guy I was looking at would have been A.J. Dillon, and he would have been swooped up right in front of me here. So it kind of worked out for me fine because at this point, 9 quarterbacks off the board. So only 3 more teams needed quarterbacks, including me. So I knew I could wait on them. If I didn't pick Edwards-Helaire there, would he have been there in round 7? I doubt it. So that's why I felt I had to pull the trigger there. And he's got no competition. He's got a rookie behind him. He's got Ronald Jones behind him, who's probably going to get cut if he didn't already. I'm not even sure. And then, he's got that other. Let me find him here. Oh yeah, Jerick McKinnon, who's not a workhorse. So I mean, Edwards-Helaire is going to get. He's going to get a lot of rushes out of the backfield. Now, Jerick McKinnon might hurt his receiving stats a little bit, but in the red zone, he's going to see the ball. So I felt pretty good with taking Helaire there. Don't mind that rhyme there. Helaire there. So then after that pick, I was looking at receiver again, and I was eyeing up Michael Thomas. And the picks between Helaire and my next pick, we saw Hunter Renfrow go, which he'll have a decent year. We saw Godwin go, which I was glad to see him go because I did not want to take him where I was at here. Just because there's so many mouths to feed in Tampa. I mean, Evans is going to see the TDs. Godwin's more of the deep threat. Amari Cooper going auto pick, I was fine with. And here's where it got dicey with me. I was really considering Dylan there, but Dylan went in front of me, so that made it easy. I mean, I was going Thomas. Thomas is fine. He's got Winston throwing the ball. New Orleans is going to throw the ball a ton, and Winston can throw the deep ball. Assuming Thomas is finally healthy, which I've heard he is, me getting Thomas here as my 4th receiver at this point, I'm ecstatic with. I mean, looking at average draft position, which Thomas has been skyrocketing the last week, he's been going around like 58, 60. So for me to get him at 76, I'll take that any day. So at this point, through round 7, I'm looking at Breece Hall, Edwards-Helaire, Kupp, Lamb, Pitts, Waddle as my flex, and Michael Thomas. I mean, I'm feeling good with that. My depth at this point at the wide receiver position is probably the best in the league right now, and I'm feeling good about that. Another guy I guess I was looking at there too was Rashad Bateman. He's their new number 1, young guy. He had a decent year last year. He's going to be getting a lot better. He's going to see a lot of deep throws. I was a fan of him. But I didn't think that Bateman would drop to me in the next round between all those picks. And Bateman's going around like 65. So I knew he wouldn't be around. So I basically had to make a choice between Thomas and Bateman. I pulled it on Thomas, and I would have been fine with either guy, honestly. But Rab, you getting Bateman there, I mean, he's going to have a good year. You're going to like him. I mean, I don't know what number receiver he was for you at this point. Sure, you can check here. Oh, so he's your third receiver. I mean, that's a good flex spot right there for Bateman. I mean, I think he's got a nice hand up on a lot of other receivers. I mean, I think Bateman's gonna. It wouldn't surprise me if Bateman was a top 20 receiver at the end of the year. Honestly, I mean, in my tiers, I had him and Thomas were on the same kind of at the very end of tier 4 at that point. So, like I said, I would have been happy with either one of those guys. And Rob, Bateman dropping to you, that you should be ecstatic with that pick right there. Then beyond that, we're looking at another QB going off the board, Wilson. So that was QB 10. So at that point, at least on my list here, all the top 2 tier quarterbacks are gone, which again I was fine with. That made me wait even later for a quarterback, and I was completely fine with that. I mean, at that point, the guy that I'm targeting is Trey Lance, and we'll get to him later on. And why? Because when it comes to QBs, there's a couple things where there's separates the average QBs from the above average. When it comes to fantasy, there's number one, the rushing upside, which Lance has. He didn't get a whole lot of work last year. Granted, he's young, but I can't remember the stats. The 2, 3, 4 games that he played in, he had a ton of red zone carries, a ton. And I think he averaged like 11, 12 rushes a game, something like that. So, I mean, at this point, after my pick here, I mean, that's in my mind who I want. And Wilson going off the board as the 10th quarterback there. Now we're kind of looking ahead here. We had Wilson, then we had Aaron Rodgers, 11th quarterback, Stafford, 12, Winston, 13, and then me getting Lance in the 10th round as the 14th quarterback taken. Now I have him in my upper part of my tier 3. His average draft position is around 90, 95 or so. So, I mean, skipping ahead, me getting him at 117, I was ecstatic there, but let's try and build up to that and not get ahead of ourselves here. Let's see. Well, let's see. Let's go through the rest of the 7th here. Any reaches here? I don't know. Olave was maybe a little bit of a reach here. There's no way I'd pick him over Bateman. There's no way I'd pick him over Lazard. I'm not a big Thielen fan, but I don't think I'd pick Olave over Thielen either in that round. Gibson going off the board here. I mean, that's right around probably, I don't know. I wish they'd have on here like the number of running backs that were taken at this point, because that would have been interesting. I'm not going to go back and count them all. It'd take too long. But I'll probably download this to a spreadsheet and analyze it a little bit. I mean, I love analyzing fantasy football drafts. I mean, I'm in 5 leagues. It takes up a lot of my time, and it's just it's fun. It's another passion I have outside of streaming and work and daughter, and I mean I'm always pumped up in fall when it comes around. So let's look at other values in the 7th round. I mean, personally to me, probably the 3 biggest values in this round were Godwin, Thomas, and Bateman. for sure. I mean, hands down. I mean, I think all three of those guys are going to have better years than Renfro. Um, who knows? Potentially Mooney. Davis, he's kind of a up and comer. Or he kind of fell a little bit. All right, so Wilson was 10th QB. Well, but now that's the other upside for quarterbacks. Kind of went off track there. Rushing upside and red zone carries. Wilson here will have a decent amount of those. I mean, that was a good pick by Kilbride there, I think. I don't know what his ADP was. Around 85 or so. So yeah, it's about where he goes. Damn, according to you, I haven't made a good pick yet. well, let's see here. This round. Well, let's see Miller time. In this round here specifically, I mean, I'm not a big fan of Thielen, but, at that point, I mean, I'm picking Thielen over, some of these other guys that are down here. I'll pick Thielen over Hopkins. I pick Thielen over Devonta Smith. I picked Thielen over Drake London. So, I mean, is completely fine. I mean, there's not that many guys under Thielen that I would have personally picked over Thielen here. I mean, going back up here. Well, no, here you had a good pick here too, Ertz. I mean, that's, 6th round? I mean, according to the ADP, I mean, maybe Ertz a little early there, but, I like Ertz this season. And even Metcalf here, I mean, me personally, I'm not a fan of Metcalf, but, I mean, where you got him, below his ADP. So, I mean, that's value for you. So, I mean, I don't know what the only pick Miller time that I maybe a little bit question is Dak here. That's all. Connor was a good pick for the value here. So, I mean, every one of your picks so far is a good value pick. I mean, that's for sure. I mean, the only one I'm not maybe a huge fan of is Dak. Because let's see what you had picked here. Debo. I mean, that's about where he goes. Kamara. I love Kamara. I mean, him dropping to 13. I mean, I wouldn't have picked Swift over Kamara. I wouldn't have picked Mixon over Kamara. So, yeah, Miller, I don't know what you're talking about, man. I like your picks. The only one was Dak, maybe going a little too early. That's all. But, hey, if you think he's going to have a good year, I think he'll have a decent year. I mean, at this point where you're at, you got your number one receiver, running back. Number 2 running back. Connor's a good 2. And then Dak. I don't know. I would have picked DJ Moore over Prescott. I would have picked Mike Williams over Prescott. That's all. But no, you're doing fine there, buddy. But, again, me personally, I'm not here at the end of the 7th, not a Thielen fan, but, again, for the value, I mean, he went 84th and his ADP is higher than that. So, I mean, you got, where is he here? Like between 75 and 80. So, I mean, you got value there. That's for sure. Well, and while we're talking about here, Damian Harris. I like that pick. So at that point, what is that, your 3rd third running back. Let's see. Yeah, Connor. You had Connor, Kamara. And then Harris. Yeah, he's a good third back. Gino Smith named official starter for week 1. Well, I'll tell you what. When he played last year, he didn't do terrible. He didn't do terrible. Who was it? Was it him and Drew Lock? Is that what? Oh yeah, Drew Lock. I don't know. I guess the one surprising thing with that is how they traded for Lock, and now he's going to be riding the bench. Although that could change. I mean, maybe Geno Smith's going to have a short leash. I mean, never know. But, I mean, obviously, either one of those guys are a significant downgrade from Russell Wilson. I mean, that's for sure. I mean, is Seattle going to suck this year? I mean, maybe within the division they will, because they're in a tough division. But, I mean, outside of divisional games, I mean, they'll do okay. I mean, for who they have at quarterback, they still got a lot of guys who are being drafted, fairly high. I mean, you got Metcalf. I don't know. We haven't gotten to Lockett, but he's in here somewhere. I mean, Penny's supposed to have a decent year. Kenneth Walker is, 1-2 combo there. I mean, Harris here. I mean, the one thing I don't like about New England is, they always split things up. I mean, 1 week's going to be Harris, 1 week is going to be Stevenson. So you kind of never know. But, that's a third back. Harris is going to get, a lot of TDs. I mean, I think Stevenson will see more out of the backfield. I mean, was he taken yet? I don't think so. Yeah, he was taken next round. I mean, other times a third running back there. I mean, that's solid. I mean, that's 3 solid running backs you got for sure. And then we got this here. This that I'm circling right now. Let's maybe zoom it up a little bit here. DeAndre Hopkins, USN. Man, let's chat about this here. So we have. Let's chat about this for a minute here. So we have Hopkins suspended for the first 6 games. We have Marquis Brown, who's now in town. We have Zach Ertz, who's going to see a lot. And hell, even Connor. I mean, Connor will see shit coming out of the backfield. Would I have picked Hopkins over Devonta Smith? No. Over Schuster? No. Over Tyler Boyd? No. Over Drake London? Maybe. Robert Woods? No. Robert Woods is their number 1 guy, Tennessee. Let's get this back down a little bit here. Yeah, just a touch too early. But, I mean, that doesn't go to say that, when he comes back for the last, 9, 10 weeks, I mean, assuming USN can get the championship, let's say 8 weeks. 7, because let's not count playoffs. So basically, Hopkins has gone half of the fantasy season, 6 out of 13 regular season games. Because, yeah, we have 3 weeks of playoffs, right? It goes 14, 15, week 16. We don't go into 17, do we? Guess maybe I should have looked at that. I don't think we do. I think we just go through week 13. Well, let's look here. Let's go to this here. Let's go to schedule. Oops. Sorry about that. All right, schedule. Oh, no, we do go 14 weeks. Okay, my bad. Did we do that last year? Maybe we did. So 14 weeks. So anyway, so Hopkins is gone almost 50% of the year. Now again, is he going to light up when he comes back? Oh, maybe. Maybe. He's getting older. That's why they traded for Marquis Brown. I don't know. I see a lot of guys drafted after him where me personally, I just wouldn't pull the trigger there. That's all. I mean, let's look at his. But I mean, the one thing that Hopkins does have, I talked about the upside for running backs, receptions, clear red zone role, and no timeshare. And I talked about the upside for QBs, rushing upside, red zone carries. I haven't talked about wide receiver yet, upside. Red zone targets and downfield usage. I mean, Hopkins will have both of those. He will. And I don't know what receiver. Let's take a look here. So ahead of. So it looks like he has McLaurin and Lazard. So Hopkins is his third receiver. See, I think that's why it's a little bit of a mistake. I mean, with McLaurin and Lazard, his flex is going to have to be a running back every week for sure. But Hopkins is number 3. Tony, who might have a breakout year. I mean, number 4. I mean, I don't know, the depth. Williams, a rookie from Detroit. Hardman, which I don't know, he's their third receiver, maybe. Well, 4th after like Kelsey too. So his wide receiver depth is really hurting there, especially taking Hopkins as a third receiver. I mean, if something happens to McLaurin or Lazard, I mean, he's kind of screwed. Put it lightly. USN, still love you, buddy. But yeah, that's my maybe one reach right here. Actually, where is his? Let's see. Yeah, Hopkins. Yeah, probably around 100 is his ADP, so he probably could have waited one more round. Although he had pick 107 here, so maybe might not have fell that far. But here in round 9, me picking Elijah Moore, who had a hell of a year last year until he got hurt the last like 4 weeks. I wouldn't have picked Hopkins over Moore here. I wouldn't have picked Hopkins over Kirk. Kirk, I think, is going to have... they signed him to a huge contract. He's going to see a lot of balls. That's for sure. I like Kirk this year. I was kind of hoping... I was... In this pick in round 9, I was hoping Kirk would have fell to me. I would have snagged him in 2 seconds. But moving back up to this round here. Devonta Smith. He was their number 1 until A.J. Brown. I think he'll be a good complimentary receiver. Smith will still have a decent year, I think. Schuster, their new number 1. Well, number 2 after Kelsey, I should say. I think Kilbride got a pretty good value here because Schuster's going Usually before that. Yeah, around like 75 or so usually. So he got pretty good value from that. Let's see. Well, after I took Thomas, I'm looking at 4. Go back to my team here. 4 receivers I had. So in this round here, I was somewhat eyeing up a running back, if possible, or QB, depending upon what happened. As you see, there were no QBs in this round taken. And Tony Pollard falling to me here, I would snag him up any day. I wasn't going to take a 5th receiver at this point. Although actually, moving on in the next round here, I was looking at Moore, taking him in Pollard's spot. Some of the running backs that were taken before Pollard here, Damian Harris, good pick there. If he would have dropped, I would have thought about him. Chase Edmonds, I think he's going to see a lot more in Miami. And Miami's like a big wild card. No one knows how that offense is going to go. Is Tua improving? Yes. Can Chase Edmonds handle a full load? I don't know. There's a reason why Arizona traded him, because he was on Arizona with Connor. If I remember right, is Edmonds younger than Connor? I don't know. It's kind of shocking they traded him, but he'll see volume in Miami. Was it not going to let me click? I was going to see his age, but oh, there we go. No, it doesn't say. Doesn't say. That's fine. I think Edmonds will have a decent year. Hell is. We're getting into the, tier 5, bottom of tier 4s at this point. But Edmonds going. Melvin Gordon, I wasn't really looking at him. It's the Javonte Williams show in Denver at this point. Unless something happens to him, but Gordon's getting older. But me getting Pollard. Pollard's young. Zeke was, let's say, hurt most of the year last year, and still was playing hurt. But Pollard's going to get carries. He's going to get, balls out of the backfield. At this point, the way the draft was going, I was looking for guys who basically split time in the backfield, and Pollard was one of the top guys there. I think he'll have a better year this year than last year even. In our point system, it looks like he had 143 points last year. This year they're predicting 157. I think he'll be better than that. I really do. I just think he's a more effective runner than Ezekiel Elliott at this point. And I think what's his name? Whatever Dallas coach, I'm having a brain fart here. McCarthy, there we go. Spit it out, Bulldog. I think he'll be running the ball with Pollard a lot more. Again, I wasn't even considering quarterback in round 8, but then we have Aaron Rodgers who went off the board here. And after Rodgers went, then we had Stafford that went. And after those two went, I'm like, well, I'm waiting another round, because at that point, I think 11 or 12 quarterbacks were taken. So I should have been the last team to take a starting quarterback at that point. And when Elijah Moore fell to me, I'm pulling the trigger for a fifth receiver who I think is going to be. Where'd he go? Who I think is going to be a top 30 guy. So I basically have 5 wide receivers who, in my mind, are going to be top 30 fantasy receivers when it comes end of the year. I would have liked Kirk to fall, I should say. I would have snagged him there, but getting Moore there is fine. Now having Breece Hall and Moore on the same team is a little nerve-wracking. Jets aren't going to be the best team. They're in a tough division. But at this point, Moore is my fifth receiver. I'm fine with that. Other guys I was potentially looking at is Brandon Ayuk. If I wouldn't have gotten Pollard here, I probably would have took Moore up there. I mean, even on ESPN's rank here, they have him at 75. I'm getting Elijah Moore at 100. I mean, that's pretty good value there. And I would have taken him if Pollard would have been gone. But again, Stafford gone. Kirk, if he would have fell, I would have took him here. There weren't a whole lot of other running backs I would have took up here besides Pollard. If Pollard would have been gone, I probably would have went more up here, and then I would have been looking at, like a Stevenson here. Who else do we have here? Yeah, I don't think I would have took Walker that high, James Cook that high. So I would have been looking at Stevenson here, which I would have been fine with there too. Penny, maybe. I was eyeing more so Stevenson than Penny at that point. Because Stevenson, I think, will see more catches out of the backfield. Ayuk is a good pick there. I like that. Then after that, this one kind of shocked me a little bit. Winston going here. That pick there kind of made me a little nervous because I didn't want there to be another quarterback run to where teams are taking their second quarterbacks because I have not had my first yet. So that Winston pick made me a little nervous. I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm like, what's going to happen here? I thought he was taken a little too high there, but I'm like, God, if that starts another QB run for backup QBs, I'm going to be screwed. And at that point, I already explained earlier, I was eyeing up Lance, so I, at this point, needed him to fall to me. I don't know, other value picks in this round. Well, Stevenson here is one. Lockett kind of fell a little bit more than I thought he would. I like Moore over Lockett, but I think Lockett fell a little bit farther. So going into the, I was sweating things out here for that second half of the 9th round and going into the 10th round here. Cook going there was fine to me. Walker going there is fine. See a couple of those running backs go. The other one I was potentially thinking about was Michael Carter. Because if I could have got him as a backup to Hall just in case, and I mean, who knows? This might probably be the biggest value pick of this round for sure, because Carter could easily be the starter on the Jets. I mean, he had a good year last year. I think he got hurt towards the end of the year too, but I had him in one of my fantasy leagues last year, and he was carrying me for a while. I mean, he just saw pure volume out of the backfield last year. So I mean, if Carter wasn't picked here, I would have thought about it here. But because if Carter would have dropped one more, I would have snagged him there for sure. But Lance falling to me here, I mean, I'm ecstatic with that. I mean, I have Lance as a top 10 quarterback. And at this point, he was probably number 14 or 15 taken, I think, which is great value. He's going to be running the ball. I mean, I guess the one thing you got to think about is if he's going to be running the ball too much and get hurt. But you can't really think about injuries. He's got the QB upside to where he's got the rushing upside, and he's going to get red zone carries. So that's what you look for. And he's got a stud tight end. He's got Debo. Running game with Elijah Mitchell isn't intimidating by any means, but that's why he'll see more carries there. Kind of moving on there. After that pick, we're getting down kind of into the, backup stage. At this point, I had, 5 receivers, so I was done picking them. I only had, let's see, 1, 2. I only have 3 running backs, but I'm fine with those 3. Especially with the receivers and top tier tight end that I have. So I know I don't have the best running backs, but they're going to be serviceable. And I have Trey Lance, who is also like a 4th running back, we can call him. He'll be running the ball. So at this point, this is where this auto draft pissed me off because Kmet was top of the list. I would have loved to have Kmet. I don't know what tight end. I don't know what number tight end he was off the board. Again, I'll have to look at that later, but I would have loved to have Kmet here, but at that point, Irv Smith, we saw first defense go, which maybe a little too early for defense. Me personally, the last 2 picks are always going to be defense and kicker. For the most part. If you have that one, we had 15 rounds, 16 rounds. What was it, 16 or 15? Yeah, 16. So I go into every draft saying, hey, my last 2 picks are going to be defense and kicker. Why? Because the difference between the number 1 defense that people are taking in the, actually the Rams wasn't even the top 1, were they? Maybe. Yeah, they must have been. No, Bills. So the Bills are taken in the 10th, and then the Rams. But anyway, the difference between the number 1 defense and number 12 defense in fantasy is maybe 1 point a game. So when you look at that alone, if you wait, another 3-4 rounds to get a defense, you're getting a defense that could very well be a top defense. And throughout my fantasy football history, I've been known as taking defense and kickers very late and snagging a top 3 kicker defense by the time the end of the year happens. So, it's a crapshoot. It really is. You'll never find me taking defenses in the 10th out of 16th rounds. It's just not worth it. The defense is taking over Trey Lance. Defense is taking over, a backup or, maybe a number 1 tight end, Knox, Higbee, Kmet. So yeah, it's just, and what I did too is, I had a sleeper running back picked out, and I was looking at ESPN's rankings, and he was like at the end of like 290 or something like that. And I'm like, there's no way that he's going to be picked because, again, people looking at a screen where they're looking at the top ranked guys, and there's no way it's going to get to him. So I told myself when I got to round 10 here, after I took Lance, I'm like, well, I'm going to be taking whatever team or whatever player scores the most points, either between kicker or defense, and which it ends up being kicker. You get, the total points for kickers, more than defense in this league. So I told myself, okay, round 14, I'm going to take a kicker. Round 15 will be the defense, and then my sleeper running back in round 16. So, I mean, at this point, I pretty much had my last 3 rounds set. I mean, do you really want to do it that way? No, but I wasn't going to pick a kicker or defense any earlier than that anyway. So that was kind of my thought process going into, after this Trey Lance pick here, which again, round 10. Lance's ADP is, if I can find him here, okay, around, between like 90, 94, 95 or so. I'm getting him 117. Ecstatic with that. I like that a lot. Now we're getting into the, we'll call them bench warmers at this point. Garrett Wilson coming off the bench. Robbie Anderson, he might have a surprise year. We're getting in another defense here, round 11. At this point, I was just looking for a backup tight end. Like I said, if Kmet would have been there, I would have snagged him right away. But, according to my tiers here, I'd Kmet about tier 3 and Irv Smith too. Although he kind of banged up his finger, but I mean, Vikings are going to pass the ball. So he's going to see volume for sure. And he ended up getting hurt all last year, so I mean, hopefully he'll be fine. Then it started. Got the kicker run starting here. But just look at this projected points. Tucker, 144, drafted in the 11th round. Now let's go to the 15th round, where we have Brandon Mcmanus projected at 139. That's a half a point a game difference. I mean, just assuming these projections are close, which sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. But I mean, that's 0.5 points a game difference. Where Widow's getting Mcmanus in the 15th round compared to a kicker being taken in the 11th round here. 0.5 points a game difference. So that's kind of what I'm talking about there. Going through the rest of this, Madison, that's kind of a sneaky pick. Something happens to Cook, well, boom, he can swing right in there. And Madison, he had a good year last year. They're projecting him as less points, but we'll see. Carr going here, I kind of like that. I think Carr will have a sneaky good year. I mean, he could potentially be a top 10 quarterback, and he must have been drafted as like a 16th. See, I think Lance was either 14 or 15, so he was either 15 or 16. And he was the other guy I was kind of looking at too. If I didn't get Lance here, I would have been going Derek Carr because he would have been next, either him or Cousins. But yeah, being from Minnesota, I'm not a big fan of picking Minnesota guys. But tight end, yeah, whatever. That was kind of my thought process in the first round. Now, is it going to bite me picking Kupp over Jefferson? I don't know. I hope not. But I don't know. I'm just not a fan of picking my own team's players in fantasy. Besides that, nothing eye-opening here. I mean, we're kind of getting into the Joshua Palmer. I like that. I like that guy. I like him a lot as their third receiver. He's going to see a lot of balls. I mean, he started coming up a little bit last season, second half of last season when a few guys were getting hurt. But I think Palmer will have a sneaky season. I think he'll be better than this projected points right there. Chargers are going to be throwing the ball a lot. What else we got? Everett. I like that pick. Again, they're going to be throwing the ball a lot. I mean, I was kind of looking at him too, but I think the balance of offense between Minnesota and Chargers are the balance is a little bit better on Minnesota, so that's why I went with Irv Smith there. And this leads to my 12th round pick, Brian Robinson, Washington. When we got to this point in the draft, I needed, a couple running backs I wanted to take. I just wanted to try and get some sleepers in here, and Robinson is one of those. I mean, from what I hear out of Washington, Antonio Gibson is not necessarily a number one guy who can handle the ball 25 times a week. Robinson's young. Pretty sure he's a rookie. I think we're going to see a lot from him this season. So that can be a sneaky pick, and I really like that one here. Other guys I was looking at that point, was kind of looking at Hines a little bit. So he's going to see a lot of catches out of the backfield. Who else was I? Oh, Jamal Williams I was kind of looking at, but I thought I could wait for him. But yeah, I think for the value, I mean, Robinson's ADP is. Take a look here. If I can find him. Okay, at least on this one, he's probably around like 150 or something like that. I don't know. ESPN had him at 121 as a rank, but yeah. So I mean, I picked him around that, right around the ADP. I didn't think he would last much longer than that, so I certainly don't mind having him as my fourth back. Gibson isn't the healthiest back. He just can't handle the big workload. I think they're going to be a kind of a split type thing. Robinson more of a third down guy, and Gibson first and second down. If I remember right, Robinson should be a little bit bigger guy, so he might get more red zone touches too. Moving on from that, at this point, I needed a backup QB. I was looking at Lawrence here. I was looking at Matt Ryan. I don't know. It's kind of an unknown how Ryan's going to do. Is he a value pick in 13? Yeah. Does he have potential to be a top 10 quarterback? I don't think so. I just think, my pick of Tua here, I think Tua's got a little more potential to have a little better breakout season with the players that he has. So that was my round 13. But yeah, I was looking at Lawrence and Ryan. I don't think I was looking at anyone else. No. And Cousins was auto picked in front of me, so that made it a little bit easier too to go after Tua. Otherwise, this one right here, George Pickens, Kilbride. I love that pick right there. If I wouldn't already have 5 receivers, I like him. I was kind of hoping he'd kind of fall through a little bit, but even though their quarterback situation's iffy, I like what Pickens is going to do this year, I think. So when we got to round 14, I was thinking there's a couple running backs that I was thinking about taking. Jamal Williams here was one of them. C-Flip got a good one here. I mean, round 14. I mean, that's pretty decent value. I mean, he saw quite a bit of catches coming out of the backfield last year, and it just seems like Swift doesn't get more than 20 carries a whole lot. So, but I mean, Williams is someone I was looking at, but he got taken. Kenneth Gainwell, that's another one. I am not. I can't emphasize this enough. Not a fan of Miles Sanders at all. He lets people down every year. He was going as like the 26th running back off the board, something like that, I think. 27th or so. He can never make it through a full year. He's way too small. If I remember, he's like 5'8", 5'9", maybe, something like that. He just can't take the beating, and that's proven over the last couple years. So Gainwell was a guy I was looking at. I mean, I like that pick right there. Gainwell's going to see, they have him projected worse than last year. I mean, granted, Sanders was out for a while, so he saw carries, but I think Gainwell's a good 1B on Philly. I'd like to see him get the ball more often than Sanders, honestly. I mean, they just Philadelphia's got to move on from Sanders, and I think Gainwell is going to be a very good back in the future for sure. So when it got to me at this point, like I explained earlier, I was either looking at defense or kicker. Kickers score more points in this league, so the two things I look for in kickers. Not that I want to spend a lot of time talking about kickers, but two things I look for is when is their bye week, and do they play in a dome? And three things I should say. And do they play in a high-powered offense? Those are the only three things you really need to look for in a kicker. Now, bye week number one is I don't like to take a kicker with a bye week too early because sometimes these sleepers that you're picking, I don't like taking two defenses or two kickers. I'm taking one of each. If you take a kicker that has a bye week in, from let's say week 9 on, you already get a good sense of what your bench guys are doing by then. So by then, when that bye week does come around, you can certainly drop that kicker and pick up another one, or drop, I should say, another guy on the bench who's just not doing anything for you, like a sleeper that you tried for that just missed on. Then you could drop them for a kicker, and then, if the kicker's good enough, let's say, week 9 you got the number one kicker in the league. Well, you're certainly not going to drop him for another kicker, so you're going to keep him and drop someone else for a kicker. But that's what I look for. Prater plays in a dome. He's on a high-powered offense, and he doesn't have a bye until week 13. So by week 13, I should be able to, drop someone at this point to pick up another kicker for a week. So that's my thought process behind kickers. So that's why I went kicker around 14. And I think at that point he's, the top, probably top, he'll be a top 5 or 6 kicker, I would think. But again, high-powered offense in Arizona, they're going to be scoring a lot of points. So guys got a leg, they're in a dome. So the odds of him kicking more 50-yard field goals is higher, that's for sure. At this point, we got more defenses going here. It came back to me in the 15th. Fields was still on the board. If he wouldn't have been auto-picked there, I was maybe thinking about taking a third quarterback for the hell of it. Just because, again, Fields has that upside where he's going to get rushing yards and he's probably going to run the ball in the red zone. So he definitely has an upside. And I guess, honestly, I was kind of shocked he fell this far in the draft. But after he got taken, he was, again, at the top of the ESPN rankings, so I knew he was going to be gone. So I'm like, well, it makes it easy, defense. If I would have took a third quarterback here, number one, it would have been trade bait for later on. I think Fields is going to be, I think he's going to be a top 15 quarterback by the end of the year, fantasy-wise. So, that could have been nice to have on my roster, but it would have been trade bait. And who knows? You never know what's going to happen. But after he was taken, they made it easy for me. Instead of, waiting on the sleeper running back, which I'll get to in the next round. With him taken, I was going defense for sure. Again, the point system in our league, it's, between the top, just looking at projected points, top defense, compared to defense 12 is, maybe a point a game. Let's look at this. They're projecting Patriots to have 97 points. Let's see. ESPN's kind of down on them. They're projecting the Bills 144. It may seem like a significant difference, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a gap. I really don't. And I can't even remember what defense I took there. It's maybe 8th or 9th off the board, maybe something like that. Let me look here. Yeah, it was maybe the 9th one. I got New England as a tier 2 defense, and they're in a division with the Jets, Miami, who can turn the ball over quite a bit, and Buffalo's going to be tough, but there's probably three things to look for in a defense: is, are they in a below average division? Again, when is their bye week? And if they've had any significant signings, basically. Patriots defense has always been solid. So I was happy with that. The ones picked after me, Denver, nah. Steelers, nah. They just wasn't really licking my chops for any of those. And then we see, people are just taking flyers off people. Jalen Tolbert, I think that's a good pick. Nico Collins, C-Flip getting him. I think he's going to have a pretty decent year. That was kind of one of my sleeper wide receivers. If I wouldn't have taken 5 earlier on, he was one I would have been targeting towards the end here. But I like that pick by Flip there. Even Jameson Williams here. He's going to be hurt for a while. He's a rookie, but you never know what he's going to do. He could have a good second half of the year. How do you say his name? Tyler Algier. He was kind of another guy I was looking at for a sleeper running back here. He wasn't my number one guy I was looking at, but he was probably second or third. So I think that's a good pick there, because there's no way Cordell Patterson's going to go the whole year. This is a good rookie. I think he's going to have a pretty decent year. And here we go. Last pick in the draft, or at least my last pick, Zamir White, Las Vegas. This is a guy I was eyeing when I took Trey Lance in the 10th round. This is a guy that is going to see a lot of time on the field this year. There's talk about Josh Jacobs being traded because of Zamir White. And they know what they have with this guy. Now, whether or not they actually trade him, I don't know. They didn't pick up his 5th-year option. That's telling right there. So Las Vegas knows they have something in this guy. I really hope he sees the field more often. than some may be predicting. And, Josh Jacobs, let's face it, he just hasn't done what they've wanted him to do. And plus um, with McDaniels there now, he loves doing the 1A, 1B. So I was absolutely ecstatic getting him in the 16th round. I was not going to not pick him in the draft to go to free agency and lose out on getting him. Very high on this guy. I actually picked this guy in the 3rd round of my rookie draft for my Dynasty League too. The Dynasty League, besides our auction, we can sign guys to contracts, and I won't get into it's pretty intricate for the most part. But we have a separate rookie draft, and we have a separate rookie squad on our team where we can have 5 guys kept on a separate squad that don't count towards your salary cap that are in their 1st and 2nd year. I end up getting Zamir White in this year's rookie draft in the 3rd round. Absolutely ecstatic with that too. And I got him for very cheap as well. Huge. So yeah, I thought that was a pretty successful draft. Fun draft. Be in Discord with everyone. We can kind of go through some teams here. See what we like here. Let's see, starting off with Ghostbuster. Oh shit! What happened? Did Stone Canadian beat Sloaner? Oh, I had it going in the background too. Anyone in chat know, did Stone Canadian beat Sloaner? He had to have. This match would have been going a lot longer. Wow. I'm going to have to watch that VOD. He had to have. All right, what do we got here? Ghostbuster. Ooh, I like what he's got going on. Lamar Jackson, Taylor, Jones. That is probably going to be tough to beat out for starting running back duo right there. That is probably going to be the best running back duo in the league. Just initial look. Judy is his number 2. Me personally, I'm not a huge fan of that. Godwin might actually end up being better than Judy, depending. I don't know, if anything. Oh, he's got Renfro too. Yeah, it's not bad. I'd say the running back core is a lot stronger. Tight ends, Njoku, and a name I'm not going to try and pronounce. And those are two solid tight ends. Nothing. This guy from Denver, he could be a top 10 guy by the end of the year. Not a huge fan of the wide receiving core there. With Allen, who's kind of 1A, 1B with Mike Williams. Judy's Denver's number 2. Renfro, number 2. Godwin, number 2. And those are the kind of things you got to look at too, let's compare that to my team here, where Kupp, number 1, Lamb, number 1, Waddle, 1A, 1B with Hill. We don't know yet. People are picking Hill in front of Waddle, but it wouldn't surprise me if Waddle had the better year, the 2. Michael Thomas, number 1. Elijah Moore, number 1. So, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, potential 5 number 1 wide receivers on my team. Take a look at Shiloh's team. Mr. Auto Draft. The fuck? I feel bad. Wish Shiloh could have been in there. But who did he end up getting here? He's got 3 his QBs are... He's got depth on QB. That's for sure. Rodgers, Cousins, Fields. I like that. Starting running backs, McCaffrey. As long as he's healthy, he's the best. He's better than Taylor when he's healthy. Sees a ton of receptions. His average points per game is just huge. Not a Miles Sanders fan. I exclaimed that earlier. His wide receiver core, he's got Hill, Johnson, and Cooks. I kind of like that. He's got Kirk on his bench. Wow. I like his wide receivers. I think he'll be pleased with his wide receivers. And Mark Andrews, an elite tight end. I like that. Yeah, shit. Shiloh for an auto draft team. That's pretty good. Fearmouth is a backup. I mean, Cooper, depending upon if he can do anything in Cleveland, but I like Kirk, and that's his number 4 receiver. But he's a number 1 on his team. Cooks is a number 1. Deontay Johnson, number 1. Hill, 1A, 1B. So, yeah, I love his wide receivers, and I love his quarterbacks. And shit, he's got 3 tight ends. Andrews, Komet, holy shit. But I didn't notice this till now. He has 2 running backs. Yikes. Well, that's what auto draft will do. But he's got wide receivers he can trade, and he's got quarterbacks and tight ends he can trade. So I think Shiloh can make a decent run here. Really do. Necessary roughness. Who's this? Is this Lex? I think it's Lex. Mahomes, Eckler, Chubb, Pittman, Woods, Jacobs, Hawkinson. His bench. Wow, he's got a shit ton of receivers. Holy shit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Dylan. Dylan is his 4th running. I think Dylan would be better than Jacobs. I really do. Chubb. I don't know. I like Eckler. Eckler's going to make up for not being able to handle 25 carries a game by receiving out of the backfield. That was, I don't know, to me, kind of another surprising pick at 3. Over Kupp and Jefferson, but I like Lex's team. Maybe slight downside for wide receivers, but again, you only got to start 2. Depending upon what you do with your flex. But I mean, Woods, he's a number 1. Pittman's number 1. Then it gets kind of hairy. Wilson, he's probably number 3. Myers, he's number 2. Galladay, he is yet to prove anything on the Giants. He can be good, but DJ Chark, I'd say he's kind of a sleeper wide receiver there. I kind of like him. Picked him up in my Dynasty League for pretty cheap. Yeah, he's solid. Hawkinson, he's a top, 7 or 8 tight end. Yeah, I like that team. I'd say his weakest spot is probably wide receiver, though. solid backs. I mean, when Dillon is your fourth back, I mean that's solid right there. Then we got my team, which I kind of talked about earlier. Love my wide receivers. I think I got the best wide receiver group in the league by far. By far. Running backs might be maybe average. I mean, I'm going to need Edwards-Helaire to do something this year, and I'm going to need Hall to do what he's supposed to do. Then I probably be fine. Pollard, I mean, anything can happen there. If something happens to Gibson, or if they decide to play Robinson more, I mean, I like him. Zamir White, I talked about him earlier at length. I like his potential. My wide receiver is definitely good. Quarterback with Lance, kind of unknown, but I mean, we did get a small sample last year. I like him myself. Like I said, I think he's going to be a potential top 10 for sure. Depending, he could be a top 7 quarterback. It's kind of what I'm going to need. I love my depth, so we'll see what happens. Bye weeks is something I don't look at when I draft. Some people do, some people don't. The reason why I don't look at bye weeks is because even if you draft a bunch of players on, let's say, that have a bye of week 10, you have one bad week, so what? I mean, as long as you're getting the best players you can get, that 1 week doesn't matter. You should be winning games anyway. So, I mean, just looking at this, I mean, I'd almost rather have that than this distribution here. I mean, actually bye weeks I did pretty good on here. And like I said, I wasn't even paying attention to it. Week 11, I only have 2 people on bye, Tua and Waddle, which that could be a dynamic duo if, Lance isn't. I mean, sometimes you almost want to pair up a receiver and quarterback. I mean, it tends to be either boom or bust, but yeah, week 6, week 7, we got 2 people on bye. Week 8, running back, but I can just pop in Pollard there, and Pollard's gone week 9. I'm going to be running a wide receiver out of my flex, I think, for the most part. Bye weeks are 7, 9, 11, 14, 10. They're all different, so that means every single week I can start a wide receiver in my flex. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. Take a look at Big Mac. Let's see, Murray, Javonte Williams, Montgomery, Jefferson, Higgins, Goddard, Singletary. I like it. I like his starters. I don't know what he would do with his flex. I'm not really a huge Singletary fan, just because I don't think he can handle the volume of rushes. But I mean, as a flex, though, depending upon what he decides to do, he's got London, Lockett, Carter. So if they give the job to Carter, though, I mean that's a sneaky one there. I mean that's his number 4 running back that can easily get bumped up into a number 2. I mean Montgomery should have a good year, but I mean you never know. And he's got 2 solid backs. I mean those are 2 top 20 backs at worst, I think, right here. Murray should be a top 5, top 6 quarterback. Jefferson and Higgins, I love that duo. And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if Higgins has the slightly better season than Chase this year. It really wouldn't. I mean, Chase had a hell of a year last year. but it wouldn't surprise me if Higgins had the better season this year. Depth, got decent depth at receiver. Running back, again, if they give the ball to Carter more, that could be a sneaky one there. McKissick, never know. He catches a lot of balls out of the backfield. And then we got Hoodad. What do we got here? Got Burrow, Akers, Gordon, Chase, Mike Williams, Kittle, Gabriel Davis. Well, I like Burrow quarterback. He's a top 10 at worst. Running back might be his weakness here. So he's going to need one of these guys to come through. Ingram, Spiller. He's going to need something. Gordon, I don't know if he's a number 2 wide receiver. Or running back, I mean. And Akers, I don't know. That's a tough number 1 there. A little unknown out of him. I mean, hopefully he's fine from being hurt last year. I mean, he looked decent in the playoffs last year. We'll see how that goes. Kittle, top 5 tight end. Davis, he's kind of a little sneaky picks there. He could have a very good season. But I like his receivers here. Chase, Mike Williams, Davis. I mean, that's a good top 3 right there. I like that a lot. She digs my chub. What do we got here? This is Rab's team. Brady, Henry, Barkley, Evans, Sutton, Knox, Allen Robinson, Bateman. I love his receivers. I mean, between Evans, Sutton, Robinson, and Bateman, I mean, if there's a team that might compete with my receivers, it looks like it's going to be his. I mean, he's got 4 guys that are top 25, probably at worst. Yeah, I like that. Starting running backs, Henry and Barkley. Barkley, I think, is going to have a good year. I like Barkley this year. He's getting drafted lower than he probably should be. Brady's going to get his points. No, I like his team. Knox, he's kind of a sneaky one at tight end. I'll have to see what he does there. He's got no backup tight end, which is fine. So you can always drop someone. Actually, even his backup running backs, Edmonds, Penny, both starters. Gainwell. If something happens to Akers, yeah, he's got a solid team. I like that. It's not a whole lot of weakness I see here. Maybe his weakest spot might be tight end. And we got Whittle. Josh Allen, Mixon, Fournette. Marquis Brown, Boyd. Waller, Hunt. Got Ayuk on the bench. Patterson on his bench is the 4th running back, actually. Mozart, you never know. He might steal some from Edmonds. I like his running backs. Like I mentioned, I thought he might have drafted Mixon over a few people that me personally I wouldn't have. Like, I think Cook was one of them. But if he can have a big year, he needs him to have a big year. drafting him. What is like he was like the fifth running back taken, maybe fourth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, fifth running back taken. So he needs to hope that Mixon has a better season than Cook and Harris and Kamara. If he does, he's sitting decent. I like Brown. See what happens when Hopkins comes back, but I like Brown. Boyd, who is Cincinnati's third receiver. I'm not sure if I'm a huge fan of that as a second receiver on the team, but Ayuk is San Fran's number 2. I bet he starts Ayuk more than Boyd, I would say. I like Boyd as a flex, but not as a number 2. But I think Ayuk would be a better number 2. And they're just putting these in as they're drafted too. So, yeah, solid team. Allen, Bills D. I think that was the first D drafted. Bills. Yeah, Whittle finished second last year. He's got a strong team again. And what do we got? Kilbride. Wilson, Cook, Dobbins, Adams, A.J. Brown, Schultz, DJ Moore. I like his receivers. I mean, that's 3 top 15 receivers there. It kind of falls off after that, but I mean, Schuster, yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, if Schuster could be a top 30, 28 receiver, then he's getting a little more out of Schuster than people probably thought he would. I like his backup running backs on the bench because you never know what's going to happen with Dobbins. Cook solid. Yeah, DJ Moore. Yeah, I like him this year. Yeah, he's got solid bat. Kilbride's got a pretty damn good team here too. He's got a lot of depth running back. He ended up getting Matson just in case something happens to Cook. That's pretty smart. I don't think we saw a lot of handcuffs being taken in the draft, which kind of surprised me a little bit. I mean, this is, I think, the first one I've seen. But that Pickens pick as a, fifth, sixth receiver? You might like that. Yeah, I like Kilbride's team, too. And we got Flip. Herbert, Harris, Bettini, Diggs, St. Brown, Gasecki, Mooney. Yeah, Flip's got a solid team. Who's this? Darrell Williams. Is it Jamal Williams? Gibson. I suppose Gibson is a third back. I mean, that's not terrible. I mean, I would never draft Gibson as a second one, but this is probably going to be his third back. So, yeah, he's got solid starters for sure. Yeah, it's going to depend on what Mooney can do this season and St. Brown. I think that's the key to Flip's team right there. Then we got USN. See what he's got going on. Hurts. I like that pick. Because, again, he's got the rushing upside, and he's going to get red zone carries. I think Hurts will have more rushing touchdowns, I bet, than Miles Sanders. Just going to throw that out there right now. It's easy to say when I'm pretty sure Sanders only had like 1 TD last year, maybe. But no, I like that. Swift. He's a volume guy. Elliott. He had a bad year last year, but he was injured for most season. Dallas got a decent offensive line. So yeah, I think Elliott's kind of the key here. Wide receivers: McLaurin, Lazard, Hopkins, which we discussed in extent earlier. Tony, I think he'll have a sneaky good year. Daniel Jones will get him the ball. Kelsey, yeah, his starters are solid. Not a big fan of his wide receiver core. McLaurin being the number one, and then number two, it falls off significantly. He's going to have to use running back in his flex all year. I mean, if Mitchell, I think the keys of this team is going to be Elliott and Mitchell. I think they can have good seasons, then USN will be right there. Then we got Miller time. Last but not least, pick 12. Miller time. Prescott, which is a solid starter. We discussed earlier, maybe it was just taken a little too soon, but if he can outperform where his average draft position is at, then he'll be just fine. I like Kamara. I like Connor. Debo and Metcalf. Ertz. Let's see. I like his starters. I mean, the key of this team is going to be Metcalf, I think, if he can have a good year. I assume his flex spot's probably going to be running back, probably Harris. I like Debo. Larry Moore, Palmer. The depth isn't great at receiver, but he's got decent depth at running back that might make up for that. Ertz, he should have a pretty solid year. But yeah. Well, and that's the draft. Good times had by all. Thank USN for inviting me into the league last year. It's been a fun league. We keep it going here. And on that note, good luck to everyone this season. We'll see what happens. I'm liking my team. I liked my team last year too, but I started off so shitty that I think I started off 1-7 last year. Just wasn't. I think I was losing a lot of close games. I think was my issue. Oh, kind of like the Vikes did last year. But yeah, I was losing a lot of close games. I think I know I counted how many losses I had that were within 10 points, and God, it was a lot. I must have lost. I'm going to have to go back and count it again. I had it written down somewhere. I must have had like 6 losses within like 10 points or something like that, I want to say. It was just brutal. Just brutal. But yeah. Oops. All right. Well, I thought I'd try and play some games after this, but holy shit, it's 1:45. Talked for over 2 hours. I got nothing to drink in front of me. I don't know. No golf matches going on. So we got a little alt shot action going on here. Let's see who we got week 1. Kilbride. Well, this must be the same schedule as last year, pretty much. I'm pretty sure I played Kilbride the first week, too. That should be an interesting lineup. Kilbride, then USN. And then Miller time. So we got a tough first 3 weeks here. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited here. I am on vacation next week, so I will be streaming quite a bit. Tomorrow night I got to work till about 9. I got to get up early. I don't know if I'll get on tomorrow night or not. I'm actually getting kind of tired. I don't know if I'm gonna stream any gaming tonight. I just chill out and watch a few other streams, but I will be back Sunday night for sure. My next fantasy football draft is coming Thursday. Got one Thursday night, Saturday night, and Monday. I got 3 left. Thursday, Saturday, and Labor Day. Pretty sure it's my last one. So I got a lot of drafts coming up here. And that's why I took vacation this week, because I knew I would have last-minute drafts. You got to plan accordingly for that. Very important time of year. So but yeah, I think we'll end it there. Fun draft. Thanks for everyone who stopped in and said hi. Another Tom was in here for a while. Rab Sims was in here for a while. Ghostbuster stopped in. But like I said, I don't think I'll be back tomorrow night. Got to work kind of early Sunday, but Sunday night I'll be back for sure. Don't know what time. Twitter link is down below. Click on that if you haven't. I usually put some out on Twitter during the day whenever I decide to go live at night. But since I'm off early on Sunday and don't work Monday morning, it might be kind of a long stream Sunday. Maybe play some golf. I haven't played tennis in a while. I should get back into that. Got a little Tecmo Super Bowl. Started a season with, who was it? Jesus Christ, can't even remember now. Oh my God, this is terrible. Oh, it was San Fran. What the hell? Yeah, San Fran. Kittle was the man. So yeah, I think I'm in like game 8 or something like that. So got to continue that season. And we got September coming up next month. A few more days. So let's have some fun with that. Let's get this sub count back up a little bit here, since I'm back into things on a regular basis here. So that should be fun. Initial plan for October is I want to start playing some of these scary first-person games. I don't play too much. Maybe I'll play a little Silent Hill 4 in October. Yeah, maybe we'll try and do another fantasy football episode here too. See what happens with that. Maybe we'll get a weekly thing going. I know me and Bear were kind of talking. Maybe get a little show together on a Saturday night for hour or so. But yeah, in the meantime, everyone, thanks for stopping in. Do a little analyzing of the fantasy football draft here. Again, I will be back Sunday. Watch my Twitter. I will announce it on there what time. I'll probably start a little earlier than I usually would. I'm trying to get on by 7 or so. I'm off work at, I think, 4:30 or 4 or something like that. So it might be a little longer stream. Try and do a little 5-6 hour stream Sunday night. But yeah. In the meantime, you all have a good night, and hopefully we'll see you Sunday night. You all have a good Friday night. We'll talk to y'all soon.